Hey YouTube, welcome back to Universe X, and today we are actually going to talk about the meta for the start of OP03. I think a lot of people feel like it's already solved because we keep seeing, the stuff from abroad, but I think that time and time again, it's been shown that the global meta has been different from the Japanese meta, multiple times in fact. What they consider tier 0 or close to it, we've actually kind of been like, I don't know about that. Like, look at Kinnaman. Even Zoro was played with less rushes, things like that, and we played it with, a different kind of bit of it. So I think that there's a little bit of room to kind of talk about how this could go. And so I want to talk to you guys about how my insights have kind of shaped what I think the start of the format is going to look like, or at least the best decks to bargain on when you're going to some of these tournaments. As per usual, I just want to say that if you want to support the channel, it's as easy as going down and liking the video, hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already, hitting that notification button so you never miss a beat, and commenting so that we can really get a discussion going in the comments, for real. Also, there's a link tree where you can go down and you can see plenty of links, different corners of Universe X for like streaming video games, other channels, the ability to get sealed product for 5% less using my code as long as you come early enough, especially for One Piece, because that stuff goes off the shelves fast at Mystic TCG, or my TCG Player affiliate link. So, that being said, going into set 3, we're gonna have a lot of fun, right? And like most people, for the first time since the start of this game, I have been screwed over by the deadliest contender on the One Piece tier list. And that is allocation. But we're gonna persevere. There's a lot of cool local stores around the area. There's a lot of people that can get it done. And so I'm gonna kind of just spread myself out and try to get those boxes how I can, so we can have at least, a live stream of 2 boxes, a video of 2 boxes, maybe another video or a live stream. We'll see how it goes. But we want to make sure that we have enough to build any deck that we want to play so that we can provide the best content for this channel we possibly can. That being said, I want to get into this like kind of meta forecast. I don't want to do a tier list because I don't like making videos that look like everybody else's videos. No offense if you've done tier lists, I'm happy for you. That's just not my bag. So let's actually jump into discussing the different kind of tiers without a tier list. It sounds stupider the more I say it in this video. All right, so talking about the top of tier 1. Some of this is going to be no surprise. There are going to be some names on here that you guys already pretty much know and understand. It's really not going to be until we get to like the 1.5 second part of this breakdown that you guys are going to maybe just see some things that maybe you didn't think about as much, but it really depends on how much you've been testing. So we're going to start off with the middle ground of tier 1, and that is going to be Roronoa Zoro. It's kind of wild because in TCG, sometimes with leader cards, sometimes decks don't last out of their format. Sometimes decks only last 2 formats. Sometimes there's a resurgence. But it's kind of wild that Zoro, in some capacity, has been relevant in all 3 sets so far. It's like, he truly is that dude, and he is my favorite character in One Piece, so I'm really happy that he's just staying relevant. But you're going to notice a trend with the red decks going on. Starting, or as of this set, now set OP03, Pillars of Strength, red has become centralized around the Whitebeard cards. Mainly, you're going to be able to have, the core of it are the 2 Marco cards. The 4-drop blocker and the 5-drop essentially KO a 3K or less. The reason why they're focused on these is because those Marcos have recursion effects. The blocker Marco, as you guys should know, can be brought back by discarding a Whitebeard card if you are at 2 life or less, and then the Whitebeard, or the Marco 5-drop from set 3 is actually going to be able to be brought back by discarding a Whitebeard event, or sorry, an event card, just a red event card. So with these 2 things having that recursion ability, they become extremely sticky. So where do you go from there? Well, okay, you want to be able to search out those cards. So you're going to run the 1-drop Izo. He is going to be able to search out Whitebeard cards in general. So this is going to allow you to go down on your count of 9-drop Whitebeards from the 4 that some people may be running to 3 or 2. And that's going to allow you not have as many bricks in your deck, but be able to go through them. Past that, you have your 2K counters like Jozu, who's going to be able to be a Whitebeard that you can search off of Izo, but also a Whitebeard you can discard for blocker Marco. And then you have a card that's kind of like an Omni Key, which is, Whitebeard Pirates, which is an event card, and it's a Whitebeard card. So it can be discarded for both Marcos. It can be picked up with Ezo. It can be picked up with, it can be used to pick up Whitebeard, Ezo, or either Marco. So you have this like core that's going to be with all of the red decks essentially to some capacity. So with that being said, Zoro is still a solid dude. He is going to allow you to have a better build for wide boards, and in some ways it's almost like having a soft Moby Dick. It's like having half of a Moby Dick. Zoro gives 1000 power to everybody when he has a Dawn under it, and essentially that's going to become very, very relevant, because before you'd stock up your board on weenies. Now you're going to stock up your board on mid-range threats, and Zoro's going to buff them all by 1000, essentially giving you half the effect of the aforementioned field card from the Whitebeard deck. I affectionately call this deck Greenbeard, because essentially you are Zoro just using a Whitebeard core, and that's going to be where the power lies. You're just a consistent red deck. Most red decks are going to be able to go down to about 2 life, and that's going to be when your Marco blockers can recur. That's going to be when you are able to just jump in there and go hard with the radical beams. That's going to be where your sweet spot is. You take those first 3 cards, and then your deck operates completely differently after that. And with all those bodies on board, you're going to be able to block, pressure, and there's going to be that one turn where you're like, okay, well, a Dawn under Zoro, and a Dawn in this blocker, swing for 7k, cool. Dawn in this blocker, swing for 7k, cool. Dawn in this blocker, swing for 7k, cool. Dawn under like Marco, swing for 8k, cool. We're gonna just punch you in the face with our leader, cool. Punch you in the face with Whitebeard. It gets very, 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 very strong, that incremental advantage over time. So yeah, Zoro's still gonna stay, and he's going to be probably the most consistent of the middle road. He's not going to have the crazy highs, but he's also going to have less room for low ball variance as well, and I appreciate that. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. So the next one we're going to actually talk about is Whitebeard. Now, while Greenbeard was able to have, like I said, middle of the road consistency, you're going to have not as high, like just spikes, but you're also not going to have the valleys. Whitebeard is still that dude though. Whitebeard is going to have an incredibly high ceiling. However, there are going to be some times where you get to a no life point. You may be holding radicals and whatnot, but a single unblockable cough cough Luffy or Diablo Jambe, if it decides to be teched in, could really get in there. Normally this deck is going to be able to sit behind a whole bunch of blockers, but unblockable becomes a very big topic of discussion. That's one of the reasons why I do like Zoro personally, because or Ace, which we're going to get to later, because Whitebeard is a very powerful deck, but if the game just doesn't go your way and you're in best of 1, there are some times where you can just end up at 0 life and you don't see the cards you need, or you run out of fodder to discard for Marco, which shouldn't really happen, but you never know. And then you just get swung on. You have no real way to get out of it because you have 0 life and your deck just forced you to be that way. So that's a little bit of roughness, but for the most part, all you need to know is that because this leader is going to take 1 life at the end of each turn, you're going to have a consistent flow of cards, and then on top of that, your opponent can't starve you off of your life like they normally can for other red leaders, allowing you to have a huge ham, big defense, constant gas, and until you peter out, you're good to go. So the following card is actually going to be Ace, coming out of this new set. And yes, I put all 3 of these in tier 1 because they all operate slightly differently, but the strength of red and the generalized core essentially make them all in the same stratosphere of play. Ace is going to be a little mechanically different because Ace deals in event cards. We've already gone over that. You guys can go in the description and find the video where you guys can just know all about Ace. But when this leader attacks or is being attacked, you may trash any number of event or stage cards from your hand. For each card you trash, this leader gains plus 1k. This can allow, like I said before, the leader to have excellent plays after Whitebeard, the strongest Whitebeard turns in the game, so to speak. You're going to be able to not really have dead cards. Only a few cards in your deck will even be considered dead. But you're still running the Marco core, you're still running the Whitebeards, you're running Ace too, the character cards. So this deck is going to allow you to run all those cards a little more extra heavy, but it's also the Destruction Lord. If your deck needs board presence, cough cough law, you will not be able to hold a candle to a ace player that draws a 4 out of 10 or higher. It's just that savage. So yes, this is going to be the get their stuff off the board, and that's kind of the trade. You have less characters, but at the same time as having less characters, you're going to be able to remove their board presence as well, so they'll have less characters as well. So yes, lots of people put Ace in like tier 2. I do put Ace in tier 1. I think he's going to be a fine deck, and I think that Global is going to lean on him a lot more than OCG, because while Global does enjoy Red's dominance to a degree, I know some people are tired of the staleness, they will be looking for ways to not play Red the same way they've been playing Red for sets. Next in the top tier discussion, tier 1, we've got Rob Lucci, or as I like to call him, Rob Gucci. Black was in a very, very good place in terms of effects last set, but in terms of speed and the flow of the game, Rush was just too powerful. Decks would get straight under Black, and Black always had to be responsive. With Black, the way it was set up when it came out was your opponent plays something, you can blow it up your following turn. But when that thing had Rush, it was very rough because it would get in its damage and then you had to respond to it after it's already done its thing. So you had to go down on hand to get rid of something that had already done damage to you. It was kind of rough. But with Rob Lucci, you're able to take that punch to them. You have a lot of cool recycling effects. Bluno is able to get cool things from the grave like Caulifla. Kaku is able to come out and blow up stuff while being a threat himself. Air door builds are able to cascade cards to the board. And Rob Lucci himself will cause pivotal moments of dual attacking in the game. And especially since he doesn't cost Dawn, you just need to KO something, and you also need to discard 2 cards from your hand. This is going to be a very powerful effect because you can Dawn this guy up higher than you can with Kid. This guy actually can swing alphas harder than Kid. If you have something like, I don't know, a Garp on the board, if you're still playing Garp, or just anything you don't need to pay Dawn for. Like, let's say you have a Garp on board, or they have a weenie that they swung with, and you have something that can swing. You could Dawn this dude up to high heaven, Dawn this man up to like, I don't know, 12. That's I guess the number that Kid got up to. You could Dawn out to 15, and you could just swing on their leader for 15, knowing they're going to take it. Swing on a like 1 or 2K for like 5 or 6K. See what they do with their hand. I mean, if they drop 4 cards in their hand to stop that attack, you've already made a sterling W. But otherwise, you know, it dies and they have to deal with a 15K again. So it's really strong. Rob Gucci changes the speed of Black and allows them to be extremely aggressive in leader while having an excellent slot or slew of effects in their like house, which is actually why Kid was such a good deck in set 1. Kid had so many effects for defense, maintaining board presence, diminishing your opponent's board presence, sniping cards that they didn't want to have attacked yet, and then Kid itself was a very, very, very powerful offensive leader. So with that being said, Rob Gucci sits in that place, except instead of tapping cards, you are now destroying them, and Rob Gucci is able to swing twice. So yes, that's where he is. Very aggressive. He's going to bring Black into the forefront. Next, you have Charlotte Katakuri. And Charlotte Katakuri is pretty tight. You're going to notice a trend in this game if you haven't already. Leaders that naturally go up to 7K just doing what they're supposed to do are always needing to be looked at better, harder, because they're just reaching these magic neutral poke numbers just for existing. This guy's, you're going to put a single Dawn on a Katakuri, look at your or your opponent's life to know what they're going to get or to know what you're going to set up. Then you're going to go to 7K and just punch your opponent in the face for no reason at a number that they have to use an event card or drop at least 2 cards from hand to stop. So with that being said, Katakuri is just very, very, very solid sound. His effect is easy, but like it's doing what it needs to do. 7K on a leader is very strong. He's also naturally going to oppress, base 5K leaders. He's going to at least clear Whitebeard just organically, and Whitebeard will have to start using 2Ks instead of just 1Ks. And there's a lot of 2Ks in Whitebeard, but you keep pressuring with your leader and eventually they're going to bottom out at some point. So very, very nice. You guys have also should have seen my yellow video. If you haven't already, of course, just go down. They're definitely on the page. But Katakuri is just one of those, like yellow is one of those decks next set that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Yellow single-handedly does away with the kind of aggro strats that we were seeing from Zoro in this set. I don't know how many people have been doing the testing. I'm sure lots of you, but playing like 2-drop Rush Zoro versus Katakuri or Big Mom was just bad. You can kill them almost 2 times over and they'll still be sitting at medium health because of the way the deck works and how they get towards the late game. And because they're healing health and then attacking your board, you're generally going to get to a point where you bottom out of offensive threats, and they stabilize on their bombs. And a 10-drop Lin into a 10-drop Lin or a 7-drop Lin to a like 10-drop Lin, like it gets rough. And until you lose your last life, it's just not advantageous to choose your last life other than giving them life. There's just a lot of things that go into it. So realistically, yellow should be a force to be reckoned with coming out. And since Katakuri just has one of those organically good leader effects for pressure, I'm sure that Global's going to love him just as much as JP does. Now we're going to move over to the tier 1.5, and this is going to be the last tier I talk about because I really don't feel like it's worth talking about lower tiers. If they're lower than tier 1.5, you have to be lucky to top with them, because statistically, in the level of power those decks have, you're not going to be doing it consistently enough to go through a 9-round tournament. But the first on the top 1.5 is Law. You guys should know by now, Law is never going to go anywhere. Technically, Law could run the entire Whitebeard package with some green cards and be set. Law could run what it's currently running and be set. Law is just one of those decks that just, as long as they're good come into play effects, which we still have, it's going to work. Can you imagine like getting a swing off, then playing using his leader effect to bounce a red card, to put a 5-drop Law in play, to then bounce another card like an Ezo, to then play a like another 3-drop just going in, or you can bounce a 5-drop. Well, like there's just too much. There is too much you can do with this deck, and it still works. Now, granted, the main issue here though is with Marco being able to snipe as well. We do have a lot of removal, but the main issue that you run into with Law is that if you see an ace in Swiss, that's your cheeks. It's just not there for you. Like, ace will make sure that your leader will stay a vanilla the entire game. Every time you get fire fisted, you will cry tears of hot sorrow, and you won't be able to set up a board. However, if ace isn't a popular deck, Law can still contend with the best of them. Law still has some of the highest ceiling in the game, and that is not really close. Like, even Whitebeard pales in comparison when Law gets rolling. So I don't mind looking at that in that direction. Law is still a good deck. It just has more holes in the format. Now, the next leader I'm going to talk about is Big Mom, Charlotte Lin. Now, lots of people are going to be playing Katakuri over her, and it's not hard to see why. Katakuri does naturally go up to 7k, but Big Mom is going to naturally go up to 7k too. It's just that her effect is less, I don't want to put off any Katakuri players, but Katakuri just rewards you for putting a single Dawn in her. Very low investment, very good reward. Lin requires you to be lower on health, and you have to have the triggers, so your deck has to be built a certain way. However, Big Mom is going to be able to use some cards that Katakuri can't bank on using, like putting the triggers in like Thunder, maxing out at 4 at Thunderbolt, so you can just put those triggers when you please and just start smoking things cost 5 or less. Being able to put the life gain cards in your life if you want to and trigger them. Big Mom is trigger control, essentially security control for you Digimon players, and she has a greater amount of setup. You do need to think a little bit harder than her, and it's not organically, just intrinsically easy for her to get her effect off, but I do believe that she's actually not that far under Katakuri. I've been testing against them both, and Charlotte Lin can make some very nasty plays, and once she gets to 3 life, you just literally know that every time you strike, you're giving them something they want, or you're giving them a trigger card that's going to be used against you that turn or become a body for next turn. So she's just really hard. Once you get her down to that 3rd life, her boss health appears across the screen, and then you just know that you're going to be playing uphill because the life is going to fold out however you want it, however they want it to. Now, the next card may or may not surprise people, but in tier 1.5, I'm putting Don Quixote do Flamingo. He's actually very good, and he's another one of those leaders that just intrinsically just goes for 7k while doing something good. In fact, while he may cost 2 more Dawn than Katakuri, he actually has a better effect in my opinion than Katakuri. Your deck is going to be limited, but this guy's putting blockers, this guy's putting like blockers to search top 3 into play, or top 5. He's putting in cards that recur like Gecko Moria. He's putting in big bodied vanillas like Crocodile. He's putting in a whole lot of stuff for essentially just attacking your leader for one of the best numbers in the game and then tapping one. So this is pretty good. This guy is going to be able to keep playing from the top of the deck so that you have to play from your hand less and less, allowing you to keep a very healthy hand size, and then using your remaining Dawn to play your Law blockers, your Dofi blockers, other blockers into play. And every time they print a Warlord, he gets a little bit better. He can actually slot to play quite a few blockers while cheating in threats while still having a top end like Mihawk. And so, yeah, man, Doflamingo still can put in work. And when you have that many blockers, you can make it very, very hard for Red to close out while you're hammering at Red's defenses with all of the established bodies that you've cheated out and your 7k leader over and over again. Like, don't get it twisted. Doflamingo can easily contend with Red. It's not the most popular choice, but he can contend with Red. He has the tools. And then the last one I was going to talk about on the list is Kid. Now, Green is not really in a good position in set 3, a much better position in set 4, believe me, with Doflamingo. But in set 3, he's not really in the best position. However, you do have to see that this is essentially and I know people are going to hate me for this, a worse version of Rob Lucci. But if Rob Lucci is tier 1, Kid is tier 1.5. You are still able to have an aggressive leader with a fairly defensive or interactive board. It's just that Rob Lucci is getting rid of cards and then swinging twice, whereas Kid is tapping them, forcing you to swing into them after that. And that can be a little dicey, especially when you have these big bodied threats, tapping them and swinging on them and then having a 2k drop to just stop the fact that you just dawn something up by 3 to try to swing over something big that you just tapped is very, very painful. I think that you'll see Eustace Kid topping every now and then, but I just don't think that I could put him in tier 1, and I just wouldn't be surprised if he's a, just kind of rogue straggler every now and then. So with that being said, that's kind of what I have for the tier 1 to 1.5 playable decks. If you guys have any other suggestions, let me know in the comments. Let me know how you guys feel about it. But yeah, I had fun talking about that. Those are the decks that I think are going to stand out at the beginning of the set 3 meta. And yeah, after this, I'm going to go into the Mystic TCG ad. That's going to be the best place to find your sealed product for 5% off using my code. And yeah, you should look up there because I think pre-orders for a certain set just went up. You got to check. However, that being said, if you're looking for singles for the stuff that's out now, or you want singles for set 3 when it drops in less than a month, you can use my TCG affiliate link in order to receive a kickback to me. I guess you're not receiving much but your cards. But if you want to shop and help me out at the same time, just go ahead, try it out. So thank you guys. I will see you in the next video, and stick around for the message from Mystic TCG later. So let's talk about Mystic TCG, your one-stop shop for all your TCG needs. On the site, you can buy or pre-order plenty of sealed product for plenty of games. Just make sure though, if you're pre-ordering, to give it 3 to 4 months in advance to start looking, because sometimes the product is indeed hot, supply and demand, And then if you want to buy singles, go on tcgplayer.com. There's going to be a link in the description where you can buy for the best value. And if you want to sell cards or collections, you can message them on their Facebook site so you can get the best bang for your buck on any type of way you want to buy or sell cards. And then while you're at it, you can use the code UNIXTCG at checkout to get even more of a discount. So hey, what are you waiting for? Check out Mystic TCG today.